Hey everybody, welcome back to the Restaurant and Bar Marketing Podcast. This is your host, Erik Shellenberger, coming to you from Los Angeles, California. So today I want to talk about what I call the it factor. It's referred to celebrities and musicians all the time that you have it or you don't, and it's really hard to define. So the same goes for restaurants and bars. And a lot of times people don't know why they like a place or why they don't like a place. They just like it. It just has it. I like to compare this to Apple products because I'm not a big fan of Apple products yet. I'm the minority. Everybody loves Apple products for reasons they can't quite put their finger on. And every time I ask somebody, I'm the weird one with the Android. I'm the green bubble. Every time I ask somebody why they like Apple products so much, they can't really explain it. They say things like, well, the iMacs don't get any viruses like a PC does. Well, okay, PC virus protection has come a long way, and mine hasn't had a virus in decades. Apple products are now starting to get viruses written for them. They say, well, I mean, you can save all your passwords in the browser. That your passwords now saved across your iPad, your iPhone, everything. I say, okay, well, you can do that with not only any Android, but any browser like Google Chrome will save all your passwords. There's a million apps that will save your passwords. That's not unique to the Apple products. And I'll say, well, it's all about how I can log into one and I can save something and it saves it across. Again, that's not unique to Apple. That's just a normal thing that computers or browsers or all sorts of different platforms can do. And then they'll say, I don't know. I just like it. Stop bugging me. So that's what it comes down to. They just like Apple products and they really can't put a tangible reason on why. And I'll give Apple this. As much as I think they're the worst flowing product, computer-based product that I've ever tried. I tried it. I gave it a shot. I bought 2 MacBooks and I didn't make it past a week and I resold them. I just could not do it. My brain does not think that way. But again, I know I'm the weird one. So what I do think Apple does beautifully is aesthetics. They have a really, really sexy looking product and they have great packaging. They have great advertisements. They have great looking. Even their manuals look good. The flow looks good. The layout on a phone screen looks good. Everything about a Mac is sexy, clean, and a really great aesthetic. And that sells more people than any other factor that brings people into Mac and Apple and makes them loyal customers. They just look cool. If we're talking about bars and restaurants, that's one of those factors to where we can kind of take a page from their book and turn it into an advantage for us. And how do we make our place look cool? As I'm going out to bars and restaurants like we do all the time, and we spend an inordinate amount of money on going out, and just because I want to look around, I want to see what other people are doing. I want to see what the dive bars are doing. I want to see what the normal dinner places are doing. I want to see what the high-end clubs are doing. I want to see what all these places, all these elements they put together to create the it factor. So if I hear a place that people are raving about and they say, oh, you've got to go check this place out, it's amazing. We do. My wife and I will go to all these places and we'll check it out. We'll give them a shot with an open mind. And a lot of them, they're right. They're really, really attractive looking places. Some of it is just the layout of the bar. The layout has to be great. It has to be inviting. It has to be, some seats have to be far enough removed that if you want to just hide in the corner, you can. If you want to sit around a bar and be seen, talk to other people, you can. And the bar shape has a lot to do with it. If people go to a bar because they like to be social, they like to talk to the bartender, but they also like to talk to people next to them. And if the bar is one big line to where it's not very convenient to cock your head 90 degrees to talk to the person next to you, then it's not really as conducive as it could be, as opposed to a horseshoe-shaped bar or a different shape to where you're looking at people and you can potentially have conversations. The lighting is a big one. So the lighting in bars, I've noticed, is a huge contributing factor to this. And if you've been in a nighttime restaurant, like some place that's geared toward dinner or nightclubs or anything that's supposed to be open really in the night, and you look at those places and you've gone there with the lights on, and you've gone there maybe when they first open, maybe it's happy hour and the sun's still out, it's a totally different experience. And it doesn't look anywhere near as captivating as it does in the dark with the lights on. Because a lot of these places, they spend, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the perfect lighting. I think that really, really well done tiki bars do this better than any place I've ever seen. The lighting is absolutely perfect. There's not something that's too bright. It's not too dark. You can see what you're doing. You can see the menu. You can see your drink. They have spotlights just on the right area to put your drink in front of you, to have a light on it. All the ambient lights are perfectly spaced. They're the perfect color, and they go with everything. It's a science that I can't wrap my brain around it. I wouldn't know how to do it, but you know it when you see it. So any of the tiki bars in my fourth book of especially that we went in, anything, and I have a whole chapter on Consortium Holdings, which is a restaurant group out of San Diego. Anything they do is an amazing aesthetic. I mean, every single one of their concepts, from breakfast to dinner to clubs to everything to tiki bars, everything they do looks amazing. The next aspect of this is the service and the way they make you feel. So you walk in a great place that looks amazing, and you just looking around, and you're just captivated by the visual, and then the bartender's an asshole. That doesn't really work either. So this is another aspect that has to be on 100% of the time. We all get it. Service is one of the number one things that has to be spot on. But let's take it another step further. A service has to be pretty perfect. It has to be something to where somebody's going to like that bartender or that server personally. Giving good service is great, but if they're good enough to where they can make that person like them personally, meaning, hey, I would go have a beer with that guy. Sounds very nice, very fun, very pleasant person to be around. That's the kind of people that make regulars. That's the kind of people that make people walk back in the door. And that whole kind of combination of when you put all this stuff together, and hopefully you can gain the it factor, which is not really that easy to do. A lot of times you can have every single element of this in place, and it just doesn't happen. It's just like the bands out there that you heard of coming up, and you're like, oh man, that band is a winner. That band is going to have a number one record or song or whatever, and they don't go anywhere. And it's a strange way that works, but it works with us too. Here's a story about where I used to work as a corporate marketing director in Old Town Scottsdale. And I bring up Scottsdale a lot because that's really where I got a lot of my experience with this stuff. So I worked for 2 out of the 3 big companies who control all of the bars and nightclubs on a little tiny 1-block radius in Old Town Scottsdale. And so there's about 13 or 14, now there's probably 15 or 16 bars and clubs back to back on about a 50-yard stretch of road. It's a T-shaped road. And it's just one after the other clubs lined up here. And these are very expensive clubs, very well done, huge amount of money poured into all these places. And they do a very, very good job. I was working for one of these, and I'm there on a start of a night, and I'm just there I want to see how people react and how human nature reacts to these places, since we've got 2 places across the street from each other. One's called The District, which is the one I worked for. The other one across the street is called Bottled Blonde. And Bottled Blonde consistently ranks among the very, very top of the highest grossing bars in the entire state of Arizona. It is an insanely successful place. It's 2 stories. It has all the same elements as the District does, except District's 1 story, but District backs up to a pool called Maya Day Club, which is now going through some renovation. I'm out of the loop. They may be turning it into something else. There's a big hotel being built right there. Anyway, if you're standing in the middle of the street and you're a tourist and you look to the left and you see District, and then you look to the right and you see Bottled Blonde, they look the same. It's every bar in Arizona has the same formula. It's a square bar in the middle. The front opens up so you can see outside. You have an indoor-outdoor space. There's a bunch of patio space, and there's a little bit of an indoor space in the back. They're all exactly the same. So for one reason or another, Bottled Blonde's numbers are astronomically higher than District's at the time. I don't know if anything's changed, but at the time I was there, they were doing 2 or 3 times the amount of numbers that District would on a busy weekend. So Bottled Blonde is just packed. There's a line out the door. You can't even get in. District's a third of the way full. I cannot even place why that is. If you look at these 2 places, they're the same type of people working there. All these people work they kind of have a revolving door of employees out of one into the other into the next one, and so it's all the same type of people. They're very nice. The staffs are very, very good people, and they're generally positive people. They're there to make money. They're there to make money for the bars. They do a great job. The drink prices are almost they've got to be identical. If they're not identical, they might as well be within $1 of each other. The menu items are pretty close to each other. The food's pretty close. There's the same amount of TVs showing the same stuff. And it's just like an apples and apples comparison. Yet Bottled Blonde has the it factor and District does not. So how do we define what the difference is and how do we figure out what we're missing? And I think that's something that if somebody could actually define that, they would be the best restaurant bar marketing guy on the planet, because I cannot. I can look at it, and with an untrained eye, with a trained eye, I can look at it and say, I don't know what the difference is. I have no clue why the numbers are so lopsided. But if I'm a tourist and I go into a new area of town, I can tell you immediately, I would walk into that place, I would never walk into that place, and we could go down the line, and I would tell you which ones are the ones that seem inviting to me. Like on Broadway in Nashville. Broadway is the same thing, except it's way bigger than Old Town Scottsdale. It's that huge, huge road, back-to-back restaurants and bars. And as I'm looking at them, I was only there once, but if I'm looking online and I'm seeing these places, I would think to myself, I would definitely walk in there. There's no way I'm walking in that one. I can't tell you why. It's just that one has the it factor to me from the outside, at least at a distance. That one does not. And that goes with basically any city. You can't really apply that to LA because LA has the weirdest formula. The unspoken formula is don't oversell it from the outside. Wow them once they're inside. So the frontage on almost all LA-based restaurants, clubs, trendy nightlife places, even steakhouses and dinner spots, the frontage is either non-existent or it's minimal. There's almost nothing. There's barely even a sign saying what the place is called. So they all sort of use this, and it works. So it's always, I think they do it because it's like it's one of those, you have to have the inside track. You have to know where it is. You have to know somebody, or you have to know something about where to find the place. And people think that's exciting for some reason. But there's a place down the street from where I live here in West Hollywood, and it's called Laurel Hardware. And it's on a street called Laurel, but it was an actual hardware store before it was a restaurant. Now, the front of it is, there's no windows in the front of it. It's all a big brick wall. And the Laurel Hardware sign is, I can't remember if it's painted or if there's an actual sign or both, but it still says Laurel Hardware. And it looks like a hardware store. So there's one little tiny nondescript door. So if you didn't know what you were doing, you would think you'd go in there and buy a hammer. But it's a restaurant, and it's a very, very successful restaurant. Across the street from that is Delilah, which I talk about all the time. Delilah is amazing. Again, very, very nondescript, very dull outside with a marquee sign that actually literally says nothing to see here. And it just says cocktails on the other side of it. It says cocktails below it, and it says Delilah on the other side of it in marquee letters, like the little movie theater letters that you have in a big pile, and the guy puts them up there with a little stick. So it's really a really strange environment here, is that the outside of places really they don't use them to captivate people. And this is a very, very tourist-rich environment. So you'd figure you better appeal to tourists and let them know if they're driving by, you want to stand out and have them look at your crazy sign and say, hey, that place looks fun. Let's go check that out. But it just is not a thing here. So on Hollywood Boulevard it is. But Hollywood Boulevard is a whole nother super trashy part of town that I think once tourists go there for 5 minutes, they're like, okay, let's move on. Let's not be here when it gets dark. I guess the point of the whole thing is, if I could define the it factor, if I could spell it out for somebody, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be a gazillionaire living the life. But it's something that is so hard to put your finger on. All you can do is use the right elements and put everything together the correct way and hope it works. Anyway, in the meantime, check out some of these places I've mentioned and look them up online, see what they look like, see what they're doing, and kind of steal from them. Take elements of what they're doing, whether it be, lighting or layout or whatever, or uniforms or cocktail presentations, whatever they're doing, steal from the best and use that for your place. All right, that's it. I appreciate you, and we'll talk again soon.